Phát biểu về vấn đề sức mạnh kỹ thuật số từ khả năng chống đại dịch đến phục hồi kinh tế, tôi xin trân trọng giới thiệu và mời lên sân khấu ông Andrew Edward Williamson, Phó Chủ tịch phụ trách quan hệ chính phủ toàn cầu, Cố vấn kinh tế, Tập đoàn Công nghệ Huawei sẽ lên trình bày. Trân trọng kính mời ông. Vâng, sau đây chúng tôi được kết nối với ông Andrew.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Andrew Williamson. I am the Vice President of Global Government Affairs and the Economic Advisor at Huawei Technologies. And it's a real honor for me to speak today at the Vietnam DX Summit. And what I really wanted to talk to you today is about a digitally driven economic recovery. I think there's a compelling case from economists and from multilateral organizations like the OECD and the IMF that governments will play a really crucial role in supporting the economic recovery for almost all nations around the world following the pandemic. Infrastructure investments can really drive economic growth. Talk about some of the ways that new business models are appearing around the world and what some enlightened governments are already doing to put digital solutions at the fore of their economic recovery. So to begin with, you know, we've become very accustomed to this kind of different alphabet soup of different types of economic recoveries that different countries can make. We've heard about the V-shaped recovery, the U-shaped recovery, the K-shaped recovery. But what's really happened now, which is a much broader consensus, is this idea that, you know, from leading economists like Paul Krugman and Larry Summers, and as I mentioned previously, the IMF and OECD, they're really providing lots of assurance and support to governments that their role in terms of fiscal stimulus will be really important. We have to be mindful of government debt levels around the world, but interest rates are at unprecedented lows, and there is a compelling case for many countries now as the consumer of last resort that the government will be, to support confidence in the private sector by really investing into their economies through fiscal stimulus. And the IMF back in April provided research that looked at the different ways that government could support government recovery. And it looked at what are called the fiscal multipliers, the return that government spending would have through the economy. They looked at consumption, investment, tax cuts, and also direct government transfers. And their research from many countries around the world through the economic data suggests that, in fact, investment provides the best medium to long-term fiscal multipliers. And the best sort of investment is into infrastructure, into national infrastructure. And better evidence that suggests that investment into the infrastructure of the future, which would be investment into the future of the digital economy, will provide the best spillover impacts and the best return on investment. In fact, a study by the European Commission in 2016 suggests that that investment in 5G digital infrastructure provides a fiscal multiplier of around 2.5, so far in excess of general infrastructure investment. And there's been many academic studies over the last, couple of decades that's really looked at the contribution that greater diffusion of mobile broadband and fixed broadband technologies have made to economic growth. I think one of the best studies to date comes from the ITU. They looked at over 130 countries around the world over a period of 2010 to 2017. And they showed that, for many countries, increases in penetration, subscriber penetration, created, very economic growth impacts. And actually for countries like Vietnam, those kind of lower to middle income status countries, investment in improving subscription penetration, diffusion of mobile broadband produced the highest return. So a 10% increase in penetration of mobile broadband in a country returned on average 2% extra economic growth. Moreover, the research from the ITU suggests that investment into national digital ecosystems, so beyond just the infrastructure, but trying to nurture the digital economy, the digital ecosystem on top of that, produces even greater economic growth and returns than just on infrastructure. And research that we've undertaken here at Huawei also suggests that not only will investment in the digital economy support economic growth, it also helps with resilience. We took this change in IMF economic forecast for a number of countries around the world. So looking at the economic forecast for 2021 that were done way back in 2019 compared to what they were done recently in the October update from the IMF. And we put that against Huawei's Global Connectivity Index scores. And it does suggest, it's hard to prove the causal relationship, that there is a reasonably strong correlation between the two. So it basically suggests that those countries with more sophisticated digital infrastructure and digital ecosystems were going to rebound and grow the strongest into 2021 and beyond. Now we know that digital solutions have been really important in the pandemic and the infrastructure underlying it. Digital solutions have really enabled many factors that became really important in the pandemic, like digital healthcare. So China and other countries, you see in the use of image recognition and task-specific machine learning and artificial intelligence that greatly improved productivity in terms of identifying COVID in patients, and is being used in many other diseases to spot diseases as well as, or in fact better than current medical experts. The use of QR codes has been very successful in China in helping to contain the pandemic, and other applications that have been used for social distancing as well. So getting that green QR code that's then allowed you to travel around the country or into public transport or even into shopping malls. Digital home life, we know that many people were able to continue to work from home, and we've all got used to this type of platform, video conferencing, etc. As well as digital education, has been really important that the continuation of students' education has been facilitated by those digital platforms. But I think something that's really also become apparent is this rapid digitalization of societies and new business models. Okay, so you'll see in this kind of, because of the pandemic, this disruption has really brought to the fore new business models. In China, you've seen, explosive growth in telemedicine. People couldn't so easily go and visit their doctors or other health experts. So the use of kind of video conferencing and other ways to diagnose diseases has really come to the fore. The use of virtual reality glasses to visit property, to visit real estate, because people weren't allowed to visit. This has become very prevalent in China. Using e-commerce, live broadcasts as well has become really useful. So, for some governments, they don't need any more convincing about the importance of a digitally driven economic recovery. And I wanted to highlight some of those countries that are really, investing and thinking through what needs to be done for this digitally driven economic recovery. And I think, let's start first with China. China has its industrial transformation and new infrastructure plan. It's an incredibly ambitious one that brings together many different aspects of the digital economy. So far, the plan is to invest 1.2 trillion RMB in the rollout of 5G infrastructure. 100 billion RMB is being put to the creation, the build of big data centers. But what's really interesting there is that, this plan is one that looks to invest in less densely populated centers of China. So already, places like Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, it's become expensive because of the cost of land prices and building, etc., to build data centers that are needed for the explosive growth of the digital economy. So that money is being spent to try and build those data centers in less densely populated parts of China, but provide the fiber optic capability backbone to make them useful. But also, looking at investing and supplying support to other aspects, industrial digital transformation. So many plans to support digital transformation of local government, also the service sector targeting especially small and medium-sized enterprises, and also for experimentation about the industrial internet, the Internet of Things, and smart manufacturing. South Korea has probably made the most public statement of intent in terms of what it's looking to do. It's published details back in May, also in 2020, of its digital New Deal. And this again is based on the construction and support of digital infrastructure, but also looking to improve digital capabilities of the whole of society, and big investments into 5G, cloud computing, and artificial intelligence. Malaysia provides interesting examples of support from government. The Ministry of Finance recently explained its support for establishing an investment fund of around 1.2 billion ringgit to promote Malaysia's digitalization process. And it's looking to attract, as much as it can, as well, investment from non-Malaysia sources, overseas financing, establish those investment funds and private capital companies to jointly invest in digital-related companies. It's also providing a national technology and innovation sandbox that's being supported with 100 million ringgit. And the purpose of that is to encourage the innovative capabilities of startups to achieve digital service delivery. In addition, there's research from the likes of OpenSignal that show the really profound improvements in download speeds already from 5G, and how important that has been during the pandemic, and how to also support resilience through the economic recovery. So New Zealand had planned to undertake its spectrum auction for 3.5 gigahertz back in February 2020, but this was postponed because of the pandemic. And mindful of the macroeconomic pressures that New Zealand would be facing in 2020 and the potentially fragile economic recovery, its government decided in mid-May to support the economy and relieve pressure on its telecoms companies. So it suggested it was going to allocate spectrum in blocks of 10 megahertz for the low fixed price of New Zealand $250,000. So the New Zealand government stated its belief that 5G would really be very important for the overall economic recovery and encourage wider business investment. So changed its auctioning model. Now, look, also there's a lot of other research and evidence that suggests Vietnam is in a really well-placed position to capitalize on the digital economy. Vietnam is developing well as a digital economy, and COVID-19 has also greatly accelerated digital adoption. There is a study by GSMA in 2020 of 11 markets in the Asia-Pacific region, and they highlight Vietnam as a standing out as a real digital progressive, has made really great progress. In fact, it's suggested that Vietnam had the best improved scores among all the countries in the study, moving up 12 points between 2016 and 2019. And GSMA attributes this turnaround to boosts to connectivity and to the launch and rapid expansion of 4G networks. Another study by Google, Temasek of Singapore and Bain Company also shows that COVID-19 has led to a huge increase in new digital consumers in Southeast Asia. And actually, of all those countries, Vietnam at 41% was the highest. So, you know, the pandemic has actually, if there's one silver lining, one positive from the pandemic, is that it's greatly introduced to perhaps other marginalized groups or other groups, demographics that weren't becoming rapid digital converts. They have now got used to using digital services for the first time. And the research from Google and the others also suggests that the new digital acceleration is sticky. In fact, 94% of new digital service consumers, they estimate, intend to continue with the post-pandemic. Other research as well, though, from OECD and ITU suggest that whilst Vietnam has made great progress, in a relative sense to average households in the region, mobile broadband services are still relatively expensive. So there's lots of ways that perhaps government could think about how to reduce those costs. Certainly Huawei could be a very important partner in that evaluation, because reducing the pricing as a barrier to other households adopting digital services would be a great way of boosting, as I say, the digital economy in Vietnam. So in summary, you know, we've undertaken lots of research across different countries, and you know, we're happy to supply, you know, these best practice examples, but largely we see best policy practice surrounding itself around kind of 5 pillars, 5 initiatives. And the first one is about driving digital infrastructure rollout, and China and New Zealand really give good examples of how to do that, really providing lots of support of government to do that. Beyond that, you know, the testing, providing safe environments, sandboxes for the testing of Internet of Things, of the smart manufacturing, testing out those digital capabilities. We think Korea's Digital New Deal is a really good one to learn from. The third one, of course, is to promote digital inclusion. Okay, so this can't be, you know, advantageous for the few. It should be something that's advantageous for the many. So strengthen the construction of digital infrastructure to remote areas, to you know, more rural areas for digital inclusion, but also for skills and training. And again, Korea's Digital New Deal and Japan's digital infrastructure support plan give good examples of how to do that. The fourth one is really about catalyzing new technology research. So trying to invest in those leading technologies of the near future, such as 5G, AI, big data and quantum computing, to enhance national technological competitiveness. This is really a lot for perhaps the more advanced economies, leading economies, and Germany's investment in future mobility gives a good kind of plan and roadmap to doing that. And number 5 is then this idea of nurturing local digital ecosystems. We talk about the kind of global digital economy and the domination of the big, usually American internet companies, but actually lots of the benefits of digital services can happen at a local level, can happen in e-government. And there's much that can be done and has been done in Southeast Asia about, creating potential unicorns of the future, or nurturing local digital ecosystems that use national languages, understand better local cultures. So, governments should really try to support that. And going back, I think Malaysia's Penjana National Plan is a good example of that. So that's it from me. I hope that was useful and insightful for you as an audience. As again, it's been a real pleasure to provide this research and this speech to you, and I wish you a really fruitful conference. Thank you very much.